So here's the Cinenerds review for 28 Years Later. I'm going to start with the intro, like that intro scene, because that's what 28 Weeks Later was remembered for, that iconic intro with the In a House in a Heartbeat music, and 28 Years Later tries to recreate something similar to that, but in my opinion they do it worse. Like, they use the character of Jim, who we don't see again until the end of the film, but I'm guessing he's going to be like a big part of the Bone Temple, but like, in 28 Weeks Later, the guy who survives is our protagonist. When this film, we don't see the guy, like, until the end. It creates a very disconnecting opening, but it does set the tone very well and, like, the atmosphere, but it's nowhere near as good as 28 Weeks Later, so the intro works, you know? I'm not complaining about it. It exists, it works, but they were trying to just recreate what 28 Weeks had, which isn't good, because, like, 28 Days is entirely different from 28 weeks, and although the rest of 28 years is also entirely different from those two, the intro just felt like a cheap crash grab, and like, the 28 movies are meant to like, be extremely different from each other. They're art house in that way, which I really like, but the opening, great atmosphere setting, but not great franchise setting, if that makes any sense. So then now the rest of 28 Years Later is like, it's all one film, like, it's like 1917, where the entire thing takes place like in a singular day, except there was one time cut, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So the film story, it follows Alfie is the actor's name. It follows Spike, his father, and his mother. So first, it's Spike's first day going out to the mainland so they live in an island, and now it's his first day going out of the island into the mainland to like kill infected, and he goes with his dad. Then they kill some infected, they run out of arrows, have to hide in a house, they go back to the island, very narrowly missing a zombie. Spike learns that his father's cheating on his mother, so he takes his mother, who like is sick, that's pre-established. I thought she had dementia, but apparently she had cancer, you know, because like she kept on forgetting things. But no, so he takes his mother, they go out of the mainland they go out of the island to the mainland and to try and search for a doctor that Spike learnt about when he was out there the first time, because he saw a fire, and then asked his grandfather about that fire because his father wouldn't say anything when they were out there. So yeah, Spike and his mother Isla, they travel throughout the through the mainland trying to find the doctor. They find the doctor, diagnoses his mother with cancer, kills her peacefully, then that's like the end of the film. So the film's just about that journey. It kind of feels like Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring in that sense, but much worse. Like, Fellowship had much better characters and an interesting story, but like, this first movie in this trilogy is severely in Act 1, like, you can so tell that it's not meant to be watched by itself. You're meant to have number 2 and 3. But like, comparing it again to Fellowship, that feels like a complete story, but this doesn't. It feels so it feels so unsure of itself. Like, do they finish the rest of the movie in this movie or create the sequels, which really hurts this film as a whole. But in the journey, they had some great moments, like, the blood and gore is obviously amazing for a zombie film. They had this character, Samson, who ripped out the heads from the bodies and, like, takes the spine with it. It's super fucking cool and gory. There was this pregnant infected who gave birth to a non-infected child, which had some interesting ideas, but, like, not really, because they didn't really explore it. Too much nudity in the film for me. I don't like sex or nudity in my films, and there was way too much here. Like, obviously it makes sense, but also, shouldn't the infected be dying with clothes on? Like, do they strip after they get infected? It makes no fucking sense. Who cares? I really liked how they used bow and arrows instead of guns. Like, there were some guns, but like, guns are so boring, but bow and arrows, you can do so many cool kills with that. And I also love the cinematography and the editing, because like, as we saw in the promo, Danny Boyle had this like 20 phones, I think it was, the rig with 20 phones. Like, in the movie, you can just see the shot moving in between the phones, and that was so fucking cool. Like, when I saw that, like, in my head, I was like, yes, please, like, feed me more of that. It was so delicious whenever they did that. But yeah, the rest of the movie just felt like a worse version of Fellowship of the Rings with more blood. That's the best way I'm going to describe it. Like, also better camera tricks than Fellowship. But altogether, not a bad movie. I probably was too critical on this. Currently on Letterboxd, I have it as a 4 out of 5. I'm probably going to change that to a 3.5. Yeah, like, the story just felt too shallow. Like, it was so set in this one place, and it really needs the sequels. I'm pretty sure, like, if you watch this back to back to back with Part 2, The Bone Temple, and whatever they're gonna call Part 3, I feel like it would make for one really good movie, like watching Kill Bill 1 and 2 as the whole bloody affair. But 28 years later, Part 1 on its own isn't much home to write about. So, I'm going to lock it in, 3.5 out of 5. So that makes it worse than 28 Days Later, which I gave 4 out of 5. Obviously my favorite in the franchise. And also worse than 28 Weeks Later, which I also gave 4 out of 5, but still think it's much worse than 28 Days. And then now there's 28 Years, 3.5 out of 5. So I'm going to update my Letterboxd on that. I hope the rest of you have a lovely day. And yeah, see you later, Cine Nerds. Here's part 2 of 28 Years Later review. I finished recording the first review, then I saw a post on Instagram, then I realized I need to do this. One part of the film that I didn't talk about was the suspension. The suspension was really great. I was on the edge of my seat for quite a lot of the film, because it made scary moments, but not scary, very tense moments, like what would happen to our characters. Then I realized, what the fuck? They've been living in this society for 28 years, and they could not even come up with any sort of armor or goggles. Like, there was a scene where the sky was dripping, and we could see the blood dripping down from his head. This guy was hanging from the roof, and he was dead, and there was blood dripping. And I was just instantly reminded of the first film, with that bird pecking. And then, we see the blood drip, and I'm like, holy shit, these characters should be wearing goggles, after 28 years. Surely they know to wear goggles. And I'm like, wait, what happens if a zombie bites them? They would just get infected. They have no armor. Let's be honest, if this society was living for 28 years, surely they would have, leather armor to, defend against zombie bites. Surely they would do that. Just, if you had any common sense. But no, they were just out there in their regular clothes with bows and arrows, so that really pissed me off. But other than that, yeah, the suspension they did, obviously great. Danny Boyle did a great job with that. Yeah, see you in the nerds.